Most people don't buy cleanup crew fish because they're lazy. They buy them because the logic sounds perfect. Something eats algae. So algae goes away? Problem solved. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Cleanup crew fish don't fix algae. They hide the real problem. And by the time you realize that, the damage has already been done. Stay with me, because this video isn't about which fish are bad. It's about why the idea itself keeps tanks stuck in a loop. And if you've ever added a fish hoping it would take care of things, you're not wrong. You were just underinformed. Before we go further, subscribe, not because this video gives you a shopping list, but because most aquarium mistakes don't fail immediately. They fail later, quietly. And this channel exists for the part most lists never explain. Now let's reset the expectation. The core problem? Cleanup crew fish are sold as solutions. But aquariums don't fail from a lack of solutions. They fail from false mental models. So let's break this down properly. False expectation. Number 1, cleanup crew equals maintenance replacement. This is where most tanks start drifting. The idea sounds reasonable. Add something that eats algae. Reduce manual work. But algae is not the problem. It's a symptom. Algae grows when light, nutrients, and time line up. No fish changes that equation. So what actually happens? The algae looks better for a while, glass looks cleaner, decor looks calmer. But nutrients stay in the system. Light stays the same. Instability stays untouched. You didn't solve the issue, you just made it quieter. And quiet problems are the most dangerous ones. False expectation number 2. If it's eating algae, it must be helping. This one traps experienced hobbyists too. You see grazing, you see movement, you see results. So the brain connects the dots. But cleanup crew fish don't remove nutrients. They convert them. Algae in, waste out. That waste still feeds the system, sometimes even more efficiently than before. So tanks often follow this pattern. Algae drops, confidence rises, feeding increases, maintenance relaxes. And weeks later, algae comes back worse. Not because the fish failed, but because the expectation was wrong. False expectation number 3, more cleaners equals more control. This is where delayed damage begins. When one cleaner doesn't fix it, people add another. Different species, different behaviors, different waste loads. Now the system is heavier, but stability hasn't improved. Bioload increases before biology adapts, and that gap creates stress. Not dramatic stress, subtle stress. The kind that doesn't show up on tests, but shows up later in behavior, algae, and disease. This is why some tanks look fine right before they collapse. The part most videos skip. Some cleanup crew do help, but not the way people expect. They help after stability exists, not before. They polish, they don't build, and when they're added too early or for the wrong reason, they amplify imbalance instead of fixing it. That's why this video is not a replacement list. That's not the problem. The problem is using animals to correct system design. The delayed damage nobody talks about. Here's what makes cleanup crew mistakes so confusing. The tank doesn't crash immediately, it drifts. Algae shifts instead of disappearing, waste redistributes, biofilm gets disturbed, cleaning habits change. And then one day someone says, it was doing great, and then it just stopped. It didn't stop, it accumulated. Most aquarium failures are not caused by one bad decision. They are caused by reasonable decisions stacked too early. What actually keeps tanks clean? No list. Clean tanks are not maintained by animals. They're maintained by systems. Light that matches plant mass. Feeding that matches biology. Cleaning that protects bacteria instead of resetting it. Fish don't create balance, they live inside it. When balance exists, cleaners help. When it doesn't, they mask it. That distinction changes everything. Myth busting. The 3 cleanup crew myths that break tanks. Let's kill the ideas that keep sending people back to the store. Not because they're stupid myths, but because they almost make sense. Myth number 1, algae eaters remove algae from the system. This is the most common misunderstanding. Algae eaters don't remove algae from your tank. They process it. What goes in as algae comes out as waste. That waste stays in the system. So nutrients don't disappear. They just change form. That's why tanks often look cleaner right before algae returns somewhere else. Algae didn't lose, it relocated. Myth number 2, if the tank looks cleaner, it must be healthier. Visual calm is not biological health. A tank can look spotless while nutrients are still climbing and bacteria are still unstable. Cleanup crew fish improve appearance faster than systems can adapt. That time gap creates false confidence, and false confidence leads to relaxed habits. That's when problems grow quietly. Myth number 3, adding cleaners is safer than adjusting habits. This one feels gentle. Instead of changing lighting, instead of feeding less, instead of touching the filter, you add a fish. But adding animals increases bioload. It doesn't reduce pressure. So instead of fixing imbalance, you stack it. The tank doesn't protest immediately. It waits, and later it collects the bill. Science truth. What actually happens in the tank? Now let's anchor this in reality. Not theory, not store logic, actual system behavior. Algae didn't lose, it relocated. Truth number 1, algae is a timing problem, not a livestock problem. Algae grows when 3 things overlap: light, available nutrients, time. Fish don't control that triangle. Only routines do. That's why algae problems always return when habits don't change. The system remembers. Truth number 2, animals respond to balance, they don't create it. Cleanup crew fish evolved to survive inside stable systems. They are not stabilizers, they are participants. When stability exists, they polish. When it doesn't, they struggle. And stressed animals don't clean tanks, they add pressure. Truth number 3, delayed damage is the rule, not the exception. This is the hardest one to accept. Most cleanup crew mistakes don't cause crashes. They cause drift. Drift looks harmless, quiet, slow, until suddenly everything stops working. But nothing stopped. It accumulated. Aquariums punish shortcuts later, always. Reintegration. Tie back to the core message. So no, this isn't a video telling you never to use cleanup crew fish. It's a warning about when and why they fail. Some cleaners do help, but only after balance exists. That's the part most videos never explain. And that's why this video exists after best tank cleaners that really help. This one resets expectations. That one teaches correct use. Order matters. And here's where most people unintentionally make things worse. When algae doesn't go away, they don't change light or feeding. They clean harder, filters, media, sponges, resetting biology over and over again. That's why the next video you should watch is Stop Cleaning Your Filter Like This. It triggers ammonia spikes. Most tanks aren't ruined by the wrong fish. They're ruined by the wrong cleaning response. If this video finally made things click, subscribe. We don't sell magic animals here. We explain systems, and systems reward patience, not panic. Which cleaner didn't fail, but delayed the real fix? You weren't careless. You were just taught the wrong mental model. Until next time, keep your tanks balanced, your fixes slow, and your curiosity sharp.